Welcome to the Human and Community Services meeting. Calling the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and want to acknowledge the presence of council members Liam Sweeney, Alberto Cortez, Juan Davidoff, and Mayor Sherry Cantor. Thank you for joining us, as well as town staff, Rick Ledwith, Helen Rubino, Laura Ermsher, and Liz Basinski and Jerida. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. We will go ahead and move on to the first agenda item. I just pulled that up, sorry about that. And that is approval of the minutes. So seeking a motion to approve the minutes from November 21st and January 9th of 2023.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Suggestions for addition, deletion, edits? If not, I'll try your minds. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, and the minutes are passed. Next item is the update from Interval House. Let's skip over that while we're waiting for Emily to join us. That's okay?
Yep.
Do we have any communications, Mr. Manager?
We do not, Madam Chair. So we can go to department updates. I think Laura might be first, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, we'll have an update from Laura from the library.
Good evening, everyone. I am happy to report that the Noah Webster Library is open on Sundays now. We're open for 10 Sundays this spring. So we are open from 12 to 4 and now through April 2nd. We've had a good crowd in so far. We started in mid-January and we've heard from people that they appreciate the extended hours because they aren't able to get in to the library during the normal business week. So we are excited to offer that to them. Next up, I wanted to tell you about our Building Connections Book Club. So this is a group, we've had 5 or 6 sessions of this, and it's a book club that meets at the Faxon Library, and it's designed for immigrants who are advanced English learners who want to practice their English. And it's led by Elizabeth Hanlon. It's a program that we partner with Golden Door on, and we have a grant from the Harvard Foundation for Public Giving. And so each week they meet. This session is on Monday morning, so they met this morning. They often have an author who comes, they pick a book and discuss it. And we had Channel 3 WFSB come to one of the groups, and they did a nice segment on their Great Day Morning program. So Marcy from Channel 3 came out, interviewed the club, talked about their discussions, their experience with it. And I included some clips on my report this month. So it's really a great program, and the members of the book club have a really good time, and they build connections, not just discussing books, although they love doing that, but they're also, helping each other learn about the community, connect. They have this great list of like grocery stores that have their favorite foods. So it's another extension of the library building a community. And we also have a group that is taking a different tact, but kind of on that. It's our West Hartford Immigrant Teens. And this is a group that started in the fall. It's a peer-to-peer group. They are focusing on community service, on community building and advocacy. Their focus is students in grades 8 through 12, and they are working with the Mayor's Youth Council and Golden Door. And they meet at the Faxon Library. They plan programs, and one of their really neat programs is called Art and Chat. It's a new series that they're doing every month. We had the first one last Saturday. And so it's an opportunity for people to come together and practice English, but also have an activity to do. So we had drawing with Adiba Elnamar, and we have 2 more programs planned. And we had an article in WeHa, Bronnie Newton visited our last program. And one of the neat things about that one was it wasn't just teens that came to the program. We had people of all ages. So we really saw different generations connecting and drawing and discussing all kinds of things. So again, a great way to bring the community together. And for our kids, we have a performance coming up on February 21st during school vacation. That is Acrobat Lulu. And this is a performance that's including hand balancing, plate spinning, trick cycling, foot juggling, ribbon dancing, and Chinese water bowl manipulation. So this is a really popular program. We've heard from a lot of people that they're excited for it, and it's family friendly for people of all ages. It's going to be at 2 p.m. on February 21st. And for my featured resources this month, if you'll indulge me, I have a little show and tell. So we have these new road trip kits. So we have this adorable little case, and these are designed for families that are going on road trips to help keep the kids entertained. So within the box here, we have some books, and there's a bunch of different themes on the kits. So we have road trip, an American road trip for kids. We have facts and American history. We have some games. So we have Guess in 10, and this is our theme for the different states. So it has flashcards and facts all about it. And then we have games that were designed in our studio. So this was made on a 3D printer. This is one of them where you have to like slide to match it up. And I spent way too much time not solving this puzzle. So I can attest it'll keep you busy on a road trip. So we have a bunch of these suitcases. They have all different themes. So each one is different. They're available for checkout at each of our locations. So anyone planning a trip and maybe spending some time in a vehicle for a while, come by and check it out, and we'll help you not go stir crazy. So that's what's going on at the library, and happy to answer any questions anyone might have or give you any more information.
Thank you so much. What questions do people have? Mayor Cantor?
I just was wondering, what age is it? Are those travel boxes for various ages, or is it, only theme-based for a certain age?
So we have two sets, and so one is younger and one's kind of like maybe middle grade. But I think that the activities in there would kind of keep you busy. They're geared towards younger so that the younger kids can have fun with them, but I think the whole family would enjoy passing the time with them.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And I had a question about the Sunday opening. Is the Sunday opening something you're hoping to continue after April as well?
So that's what we had in our budget this year. So I believe that before the pandemic, the library was open for maybe like 40 Sundays. And then when we reduced our hours, that was one of the last things to come back. So last year, we reinstated Sundays. We did not see much attendance, but we were also really just coming back from COVID and reintroducing a lot of our hours. This year, we've seen an uptick, and so we've moved the hours around a little bit. Last year was 1 to 5. This year's 12 to 4. We're trying to find a good balance. I think that if we had more continuity, we would probably see more people in here. I think it's kind of a surprise, and by the time they know that we have Sunday hours, they're almost up. So it is something that I definitely like to expand in the future.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you so much, and welcome, Emily. With the committee's indulgence, can we jump back up onto the agenda and have the update from Emily from Interval House? Welcome. Thanks for your patience on the leisure services side of things. We'll get to you after.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Centurino. I am the Director of Community Programs at Interval House in Hartford. I recently came on board in August, so I'm excited to be here and kind of just share a little bit about what Interval House has been doing the last few months, and just kind of share some ideas and also listen to the committee and some things that are going on in West Hartford as well. I know I've chatted with Liz a little bit. I've met with her once. So just a little bit about Interval House. For those of you who don't know, we work with families and victims and survivors of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. West Hartford is the number 4 biggest town that we serve in our catchment area. Interval House is the biggest agency in Connecticut under the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So we serve the biggest area, and West Hartford is the 4th biggest town that we serve. In terms of services that we provide, we do have a 24-hour hotline available to clients both in English and Spanish. Clients can call whenever, anytime, any place, whether they're looking for just advice, just to chat to someone, looking to learn about some of the services we offer, if they're in immediate crisis in each shelter, if they're looking to have an advocate come to court with them or help them with the court process, if they have questions on housing, if they're looking to learn about support groups, all of those things can be answered on our hotline. We have staff that are trained specifically just to work the hotline 24/7. And if some clients are interested in those services that I just touched on, they get in touch with an advocate directly. And again, some of those services, we do have a 24-hour safe house at a confidential location that clients, families, their pets can go to if they're in need of immediate shelter. We've been lucky enough that if we can't house them in our location, we will either advocate for space for them across the state with one of the other Connecticut agencies in the coalition, or we've been offered some funds through the Connecticut Coalition to also hotel people. So we do utilize those funds as well. Safety is our number one priority. So whether we have space or not, we will work diligently to find them that space to keep them and their family safe. And once they call the hotline, and whether they're put into the safe house or not, they become a client forever for as long as they need our services. So whether they continue to work with an advocate on safety planning, if they're still staying in their home, or if they're looking to file a restraining order, or they might be going through a divorce, they can continue to utilize those services even if they're not staying in our confidential shelter location. We have one of the best law enforcement partnerships in the state, and we have some of the most advocates across the state. So we have court advocates located in our Hartford court, both criminal and civil. So again, of course, criminal, if there are calls that come through directly that involve intimate partners, they get connected with our advocates immediately, and our advocates can help them be present for restraining order hearings, if they want to file for custody, if they have a court coming up, and their abuser has an arraignment and they want to make a statement, our advocates can help them through that and be with them throughout the process. We also have court advocates at the Manchester court, and they work with most of the clients on the east side of the river. But we are lucky enough that we have advocates in both Hartford and Manchester. And in terms of some of those partnerships, we actually have an advocate in the Hartford Police Department, and we also have an advocate in the West Hartford Police Department, Janae, once a week. So she's there in the West Hartford Police Department, works closely with the police officers. Anytime there is a domestic violence, intimate partner violence call, she is connected with those clients immediately too, to discuss our services, see how she can be of assistance, and kind of just be another person that that person can talk to. If maybe they don't want to talk to a police officer right away, or they just want to know more about domestic violence specifically, Janae and our law enforcement advocates are a great bridge sometimes in that gap where someone might have some more additional questions. So we're very lucky and appreciative and fortunate that West Hartford has allowed us that partnership for thus far. Janae also sits in the East Hartford Police Department because we've been able to build that partnership with them as well. And then we have Penny, who sits in the Manchester Police Department 5 days a week, which is a great partnership. But again, we're very fortunate that we have advocates that can sit in the police departments directly. Not all of the towns across the state can stay the same. So I'm very fortunate that Interval House is able to offer that to our clients. And again, we serve the biggest towns and communities across the state. So we are looking to build more of our community partnerships and programs. Right now, me and some of our staff are working on building our support groups. There's been a lot of outreach from towns, Hartford, West Hartford, Glastonbury, Avon, in our catchment area that are really looking for some groups. So people can come together, especially since COVID. A lot of the support groups in the agencies currently are still being done via Zoom. And they're trying to bring back those groups in person. So we really want to do our due diligence to create more groups for more members, both children and families, and offer some of those in person so we can really get some people back together to not feel so isolated, and to really offer that to our community clients who maybe aren't in immediate crisis, but are really looking to just engage with other people who have been through something similar or might be going through something similar currently. And so, yeah, I'm really here to share some information about those services, always answer any questions. I know that we have a community educator who works wonderful in the communities. Her name is Kay Muniz. I know she's been doing some presentations in West Hartford specifically. For those of you who don't know, February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So we have been trying to do as much outreach as possible to get into the schools, even in some of the public libraries, whether it's presenting to students or parents, just about the warning signs of teen dating violence, what a healthy relationship looks like, even for those kids in elementary school, all the way up to high school, talking about resources that are available to those kiddos and their parents, identifying a safe person maybe in their school that they feel comfortable talking to, how friends can identify maybe if their other friend might be in a not so great relationship and how to listen and offer them resources. So our community educator Kay has been in a ton of the schools through this month into March, and she's also offering after school specials, she's calling it. They're webinars. So if you go on the Interval House website, kids, parents can register for these webinars. There's a different topic every Wednesday for 5 weeks. And so Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month has definitely been the biggest push that we're doing currently. And tomorrow, our CEO, Mary Jane, is doing the press conference on Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month as well, just kind of raising awareness, talking about domestic violence in teens and raising awareness for the state as February kind of raises overall awareness. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but February really highlights it for the younger group, which sometimes can go unnoticed, or it might seem that they don't have enough services. So really doing the outreach and raising awareness through this month is kind of what our focus is currently as it relates to community partnerships and engagement. I know I kind of threw a lot at you, and I know it can feel very overwhelming. So please feel free to ask any questions about Interval House, whether it's about services, collaboration in the future, or any of those services I just touched on. If no one has any questions right now, I am always available by email or phone, or to touch base in person as well after this meeting.
Thank you so much, Emily, for for all that you and Integral House are doing to help people in our community, and B, for coming and sharing those resources with us here. And I noticed that I saw some people taking notes on maybe making some connections with you for the future. Let's go to questions, and I'm sure that there are several of us who have questions for you. And so we'll start with committee members. Liam?
It's not a question, but just a thank you for what you guys do. It's an amazing service to provide the area. My wife used to serve on the board of the Interval House, so know what you guys do well, and just we're just really lucky to have you all in the area. And Mary Jane is a fantastic leader for your organization. Been grateful to get to know her over the time, but just it's a great to meet you, and so glad that you reached out to Deb when you did, and I think at the time we were doing a switcheroo at the time. I think we had spoken, but just so glad you made it here. And please feel free to reach out and how we can be helpful. Obviously, this is you guys are providing a vital service, and it became much more apparent during COVID with significant spikes in domestic violence. But we're just anything you need, please feel free to reach out. And we're just anything you need. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your wife's service on the board. They're a great asset to our program, and we appreciate our board members very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Other questions? Mr. Cortez?
I want to thank you as well. And we forget that teen dating, that piece of it, and that's huge. And the fact that, you guys are, play a role in bringing that awareness piece. My question is if an organization want to partner, who do we contact? And do you guys partner with other organizations? Because I'm sure there's a monetary piece, but then there's also probably supplies, and there's needs that is needed as well.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for your question. Definitely, there are some partnerships. There's a ton of partnerships we have across all of the different towns and organizations. In terms of what kind of partnership it could be could kind of determine that answer. We've done some partnerships in the past where we co-host events together to raise awareness, whether it might be on domestic violence, or we're currently working right now to co-host a support group with another agency that will want to partnership. So it could definitely depend in terms of what that partnership might want to look like depending on the agency. In terms of contact, you could contact me directly. I work very closely with Amanda DeLaura, our Director of Advancement too, who works closely on those community partnerships as we're building them. But I can definitely leave my contact information in the chat or send it to Deb directly for her to share it to the members. And you can email me, call me, and we can definitely have a conversation about those partnerships or what you might have in mind.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Madam Mayor? You look like you were just
Thank
getting
you. No,
ready
I
to
just want to
raise your
thank,
hand.
no, I just want to thank Emily for her work, and I'm so appreciative to Mary Jane and the outreach when COVID well, we knew that this was a perfect storm of domestic violence, you know, of the conditions that might exist for victims, and Mary Jane was so helpful in providing us with an embedded advocate, and we're only, I thought it was one of 3 communities that, but maybe it's 4 now, I'm not sure, but anyway, and the partnership has been wonderful, and we're really grateful for all the service, the important life-saving service you provide to our residents and to the region.
Thank you. And yes, I'm so happy to hear Janae. I work with her very closely on Wednesdays and Fridays. We're in the Manchester office together, and I know she appreciates and loves the partnership with West Hartford Police Department, and I know she loves her role there. And we're very appreciative that we're able to have that partnership with the town of West Hartford and the police department as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Can you talk a little bit about your funding? Do you mostly get grants? Do you get state funding? I know there's some municipal grant funding as well. Just to give us sort of an overview would be great.
Definitely. And if there's anything I miss or anything like that, I can always reach back out. But yes, we do get a lot of funding. We do a push in the beginning of the year to funders across the cities and towns that we serve. We also get funding through the state as well, through the funding that the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence gets. All of those agencies get a certain amount of funding every year, but we definitely do a lot of fundraising. We have a few events every year. We had a big breakfast in the fall to honor law enforcement. We also have a gala coming up in April to highlight Interval House and all of the services we offer to clients. So it's definitely a little bit of both, but we definitely have a big push for a lot of fundraising and a lot of grants that we apply for in different towns and cities throughout the year that our development program works very diligently at.
Great. Thank you. And I assume you've already made connection with our school system here in West Hartford?
Yes, our community educator, Kay, has definitely reached out to the school systems, and I want to say she's been in touch with the library too. I know there's a few libraries in West Hartford, so I can't be certain, but I do feel like she had made a connection with a few or one of the libraries specifically.
Super. All right, thank you again. Any other final questions?
I was just
Emily,
going to
thank
say,
you so much. I will. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Sweeney.
I was
Sorry
just going to
about
say that I assume that there's some sort of relationship between you all and the bridge as well.
Yes, we have a relationship with the bridge. Again, some of the partnerships that we've had in the past, because of COVID, we're definitely trying to rebuild a lot of those partnerships, especially as it relates to events or just making our presence known to those services. But yes, we have a great partnership with the bridge. Mary Jane has done a wonderful job of creating that connection from the start and keeping it throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that, like, specifically you all develop like a relationship with the teen center there, because the bridge manages our teen center, and I think that as I think you were talking about teen dating, I think that's a good spot to begin.
Definitely, yes. Oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Emily.
Thank you.
Appreciate your coming and taking the time to come talk with us this evening.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, we will move on to our next update, and I will turn it over to Helen.
Thank you, Deb Pullen. I just wanted to also take this moment to acknowledge and thank Interval House. They're just one example of numerous agencies, nonprofit agencies that we partner with, and it's a really wonderful partnership. And Liz Bazinski can attest to that as well. With Samantha Innes, our social worker in the police department, works with Janae quite a lot, and there's a lot of communication and a lot of support. We know the need is there, and so we're grateful to have that extra attention from Interval House, and that relationship is really meaningful for us. So moving forward, I just wanted to deliver an update from Leisure Services and Social Services. And today we're really focusing on social services. And we're able to update you on some of the work that we're doing on looking at the opioid settlement funds that the town has received. So our social services department has been working with the health department, the health district, as well as the West Hartford Prevention Council on ways to utilize the significant funding that has coming in, not just from the 2 settlements that we've already gotten, but some additional settlements that continue to come in. It is likely that this funding is going to be available for at least a dozen years. In a different amounts perhaps each year, but certainly a regular stream of funding. It's also important to note that there's a significant amount of funding that's coming to the state that we will be able to apply for additional funds, not just the funding that's coming straight to our municipality. So we really wanted to think strategically about how to utilize this funding and what our shortcomings were at the moment, and to see where we could kind of implement some programs in a strategic way. You might recall that the West Hartford Prevention Council did a wellness assessment back in 2021. It was part of their, big achievement in that year. And in it, it revealed that West Hartford has a lot of different programs, but the one thing that was missing was the coordination between all of those programs and the public's knowledge of those programs. So it was really about communication and about messaging, about reaching out to the community with more information. So they were discussing at that time the need for a prevention coordinator who could oversee or at least be the nexus for a lot of these different programs. But without any funding for it. And now the funding seems to be there. So in conjunction, as I said, with the Health District and the Prevention Council, we've really identified this position as something that we would like to come back to you at some point in the near future as a council to approve an appropriation for these funds to be put towards a prevention coordinator, as well as the programs that prevention coordinator might implement. We see some initial important initiatives being certainly an assessment of the programs that already happen in West Hartford through a variety of agencies as well as the town. A survey, particularly of our adult population, about what they see as needs or issues in the area of opioid use and abuse. And then also a messaging campaign about a variety of programs that we might be releasing. But really, we see this as a coordinating across all of the various platforms, and just having a clearinghouse person to kind of do all of that, as well as write grants to get more funding for programs. So it's sort of a self-funding future. A good example of a program that is grant funded is the vaping event, the youth vaping prevention event that took place a couple of Fridays ago at this Veterans Memorial Skating Rink. We had at least 250 youth attended this event. It's sold out. It was funded by a grant from Amplify and coordinated with our Kelly Waterhouse and the Bridge and the youth leadership team at the Bridge. The School of Rock provided live music. There were giveaways. The first 150 youth who attended got in for free. But as I said, there was additional, at least 100 more that came after that. There were plenty of giveaways. They had different tables set up with different information providers, as well as Friends of Feeney was there. Several of our social workers were there. The Bridge was there. The teens were there. It was really, really well done. And that's an example of a prevention program that can really speak to a specific population. So we would love to do things like that in the future that may be around other subject matters as well. So that's just one example of the work that Liz and her team are doing, and particularly in conjunction, as I said, with the Prevention Council. They're a wonderful asset to our community. The second, and I'll ask Liz Bazinski to go into a little bit more depth, is the housing and homelessness meeting that she attended along with the mayor. I believe Mr. Davidoff attended as well, as some other staff. So Liz, can you just give us a quick update on the subject matter they were discussing and what the takeaways were and what our next steps are for that meeting?
Sure. Good evening. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Liz Bazinski. So there was a meeting last Friday or last Tuesday. I'm sorry, I don't have the date in front of me. The Center for Leadership and Justice convened this meeting on behalf of the Greater Hartford Interfaith Action Alliance, which is a group of faith communities in Greater Hartford that have come together to focus on social justice issues. One of their focus areas is housing and homelessness. They called together several municipal leaders to attend a meeting to talk about the increase of homelessness in the region. They really kind of laid the foundation of how homelessness is addressed through the Coordinated Access Network. They provided a pretty detailed slideshow with data. Unfortunately, we are seeing an uptick in homelessness for the first time in many years. They shared that kind of the big concern right now is that with all of the ARPA funds that came in through COVID, they were really able to make a dent in some of these systemic issues that happen. With this money ending in 2023, they're at risk of losing more than 20 staff in that Coordinated Access Network system. So they're really trying to think forward about how can we get on top of this now. When you present data, it looks like a majority of folks are in Hartford, and that is really because that is where the majority of services happen for folks who are unsheltered. So they were trying to really frame it that this is a regional issue, and all the municipalities around Hartford do have a little bit of an attachment to this. So they talked to us about what some good examples of what municipalities are doing, some things that we could think about to do moving forward, things like funding the Coordinated Access Network, things like funding homeless outreach efforts, things like our Town That Cares Fund that helps to provide emergency needs support. So the next steps are for us to kind of debrief internally as the town who attended that meeting. I think we're in an excellent place. We do have a lot of efforts that are already underway that support this issue. Other things were like conversations with the housing authority, so really being clear about what kind of housing vouchers are available for folks and making sure those connections are really strong in there. So I think we're in a good place. I think there are a few things that we can do that don't cost any money, so that's great. And they asked us to convene again in probably less than 60 days to just give an update on where we're at. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thanks for attending that meeting. I'm not sure which other town council members were there. I think the mayor, I think I heard that you were there. And could you actually, since we have you here on the call, Madam Mayor, can you just provide a brief summary of how you felt about the meeting and as far as whether West Hartford is kind of ready to implement any of the steps that they've been asking us to do?
So just to, in attendance, Adrian was also there, and Ben came briefly. He had a very limited time. So we did go into breakout rooms. So it was a little bit challenging to hear what everybody else was saying. You know, they did say Hartford and Manchester have supported the more direct financially, the homeless population, the unhoused population, or housing insecure population. So I know, you know, Liz and I were kind of connecting, but I know there are things that we do that they don't know about that we're going to have to communicate. But one of the requests, Mayor Bronin got on for a little while, and he was talking about the opioid settlements as being a stream of money to support you know, sort of fill that ARPA gap, and with hopefully a number of municipalities using that to help support. I mean, there will be a big hole. There's obviously a lot of challenges right now, and as Liz mentioned, the increase in the homeless population, and there's a we're going to hit a difficult wall, and it's coming pretty soon. But I do think we have a meeting scheduled with the Housing Authority to talk about maybe some project-based vouchers. We already do some of that, and I don't think you know, we all need to be educated too on exactly what we're doing. Again, I think there's pockets of what we do and we haven't put them all together. So we need to communicate that and package it. But we're going to continue the conversation, have an internal meeting, and then we will be ready with some ideas when we meet with them within the 60 days, which is coming fast now already. It was 2 weeks ago, I think, Liz. I don't already. So yeah. So anyway, we got to get going, but we will get there.
Thank you for that. What questions do town council members have or comments on these areas? Oh, before we move on to the rest of your report, Helen, or
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever suits you.
let's do this piece first. Mr. Cortez?
Yep. No, so my question is communication in regards to that meeting. I don't know if I missed it, if it was open, if it was limited. And for when they re-meet in the 60 days, is it open to other people to attend? Because as stated before, you know, once you start eliminating funding, this is going to be an issue, and it's going to impact us in a lot of ways. You know, it does affect us in a lot of little ways. It has these little ripple effects. And you know, I would just like to be more involved in something like this.
Madam Mayor?
So I would love to have you be a part, maybe you can be a part of the internal conversation and how we move forward and meet with them. I think it was just connections through people. They wanted the, you know, the mayor or first selectman or town manager or somebody there. And then Councilor Winograd had been in conversations and had been invited to a different GIA event a couple of times. So that was why. But yeah, we'd love to have your input and help and support.
All right, thank you. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss something on my end. Thank you.
Any other questions on either the opioid piece or this meeting with GIA and additional actions on housing? All right, we'll move forward then. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you again, it's Helen Rubino Turco. And in the area of housing stability, there is another topic to discuss, and that is that we have launched using our Community Development Block Grant CV funding, a fund that's focused on supporting West Hartford residents to resolve or prevent circumstances of housing instability by either paying their rent or mortgage in arrears. It is administered through social services, and it focuses on right now it's really focused on areas of most need, predominantly through the Housing Authority. So again, this is something that is just being launched, and we're very pleased to be able to have some structure in place to help support housing stability in our lower income population. We do have a new social services manager. Karen Paquette was promoted, and she started with us part-time in 2017, and she joined us as the manager in late January, and we're very pleased to have Karen participating in this new role. She's very, has a wonderful, quiet demeanor, but is very accomplished and has a lot of resources at her fingertips, and is very well respected by her peers in social services. So we're delighted to promote her. We also there is one other item that will come before you at some point. The town last fall applied for and received approval for a $23,000 grant from the Connecticut Youth Services Association. This is intended to be a pass-through grant to the Bridge Family Center for mentoring services to youth who have been referred to the Juvenile Review Board. So it's a really specific focus of, but it is an extension of what the Bridge does for us now. They do mentoring now, but with this funding, they can hire a part-time position to extend these services to Juvenile Review Board participants. We're really excited about this. We've received 3/4 of the funding already, and we will be coming to you at some point soon to appropriate this grant to the Bridge so that they can accomplish this work. It is a current year grant, so it may be coming as soon as the February 28th meeting, but you know, I'm just not sure about the timing. So we're trying to decide whether it will come to them as a subrecipient or as an addendum to their current contract. But I think it'll be a really wonderful addition to the work that our social services staff does now with the Juvenile Review Board. And then finally, we are joining an initiative that is sponsored by AARP. It is to investigate becoming an age-friendly community. This is an organization, an initiative really that supports communities to develop a roadmap to become, to be designated as an age-friendly, livable community. There are some other nearby towns that have achieved this in the state. I think there may be 5 in the state that have this designation. And this is being also spearheaded by our Senior Citizens Advisory Commission. One of their members is an intern. He's an elderly intern, but he's a student at CCSU and is very involved. So we're investigating the application process, the cost, how much effort, what methods are needed to create and implement the action plans. Some of it can be pretty cumbersome, so we just want to make sure we understand the parameters, but we're pretty excited about moving forward with this initiative as well. And I'm happy to take any questions you have on the social services side.
Thank you. Mr. Davidoff? Actually, before you do, are there any committee members who have questions first? Sorry about that. Okay, Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Food insecurity is a headline almost nightly on the news. And West Hartford is not exempt from that scenario. And whether it be our youth and believe it or not, a lot of our elderly population just don't have it and don't know how to get it. Get food and resources. And just wanted to get an update as to where our pantry stands with respect to how full it is and you know, are we seeing an increased need right now?
I'm happy to answer that, Helen, if you'd like.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Davidoff. Yes, it's a very important question. Our numbers continue to be very high at the food pantry. I just pulled some data this week, thanks to Suzanne and her team in community partnerships. There's a 50% increase in families just in the month of December. I'm happy to follow up with some additional statistics after this meeting, but we do continue to see a rise year over year. It's not quite as bad as it was in the thick of COVID, but it's still pretty significant as compared to last year. You may have seen that Ronnie Newton put in a story this morning asking for donations to the food pantry for some, the usual types of items that you see, proteins and peanut butters and pastas and sauces and things like that. So usually we're happy to see when the ask goes out to the community, donations do come in. But yes, the need continues to be there. The news from the state last week about them approving school meals is a wonderful thing that's going to help with the younger population. I am also happy to say that the Community Partnerships Division is delivering food quite a significant amount more than they have in the past. They're doing deliveries to people who are homebound and who cannot get to the food pantry on their own. And we have just reinstituted a contract for mobile food share that continues to come and serve West Hartford multiple times per month.
Mr. Davidoff, did that answer your question?
It does, but it just leaves me with the thought that we need to do more, and we are very fortunate that we do have a very generous community, very civic-minded community who steps up to the plate. But I'm really concerned when it's not a holiday time or it's summertime. What our plan is and how we make that work, because hunger doesn't know a calendar, and I'm just seeing it more and more in my interactions with a variety of people in town, and it keeps me up at night sometimes, that thinking of it and visiting some people, and I'll be totally honest with you. I say, can I check out your pantry? Can I check out your refrigerator? And you open up the freezer and there's an ice tray, and you open the refrigerator and there's just a carafe of water. And you ask, well, what happened here? And you're like, we didn't make it to the food pantry this week. So that's sort of bothersome. And it's, and you could never tell from the outside of the home that this is going on inside. Okay. There's a lot of pride, and a lot of people don't want to ask for help. So I don't know. I'm just going through my mind of different organizations that I belong to, thinking, well, maybe we ought to step it up as volunteers in those organizations, even though it's not part of our particular mission of the organization, but maybe we ought to be a little bit more civic minded and take on a project to help the food pantry, and encourage others and other organizations to do the same thing. Because it just shouldn't be. It just in a country like America, it really shouldn't be. And it's bothersome. I'll be totally honest with you. It's really, really bothersome. I don't have all the answers. I don't think we have the answers, but I know the important part is we need to be aware that it's a problem and try to find some solutions. But I'm certain we will. But I'm optimistic that we'll find the solution. But I just wanted to bring it up this evening because in the last week I've had 3 or 4 encounters with elderly people who just don't have any food in their pantry. I thought that was really bothersome. So I did whatever I need to do on a personal level to make certain that that wasn't the case. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, if these are 3 or 4 random people that I just crossed paths with, are there a lot more in town? So it's just bothersome. And when I asked them, there is a pantry or whatever, a lot of it was, no, I'll get by. I have too much pride. And sometimes there's got to be a way to do it that doesn't get in the way of a person's pride or dignity. Just, to get some help. And I'm going to try to figure that out, in some of the organizations that I'm involved with. But just wanted to raise it here tonight because I do think it's something everybody in our community can do to help. And kudos to my colleague, Mr. Cortez, because I know that week in and week out at his church, they're constantly dealing with food insecurity. So, and to our mayor and Mr. Sweeney and you, Ms. Poland, for taking the steps necessary to find solutions to this sort of invisible problem, but it's real. It's real here. Thank you.
Just as a follow-up to that, are we helping people apply for SNAP and WIC when they come in for the food pantry? Those are much more stable solutions for families to provide monthly allotments. So I'm seeing some nodding on that.
Yeah, so the food pantry staff certainly has a robust list of things to try and connect people with as a sort of direct referral. SNAP, as you know, is a little bit more complicated in terms of the application process, so they will refer to a social worker. So we have a variety of ways that we will connect with folks. I think the folks who are in the food pantry do an amazing job to say, I've seen you here more than usual. Maybe you want to talk to a social worker so we can see if we can dig a little bit deeper and connect you to other resources. So I would say to Mr. Davidoff, there's a hotline for SNAP specifically for seniors that is helpful to help them connect through that difficult application process. So maybe it is about a little bit more of an awareness campaign, and I'd be happy to talk with you offline about some ideas where we could get the word out about some resources for folks in the community.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And as you may know, that's part of what I do for when I wear my other hat, the one that pays the bills. So other questions from committee members or council members? Mr. Cortez?
Listening to Mr. Davidoff speak, we always, it's easy to target the obvious, right? People that are showing up there. But you have the pride piece. And do we have something in place for people that can't get to the food pantry? And we might already have where we can get stuff to them or get a meal. Because I'm thinking about that too. There's also accessibility issues for some folks, especially seniors, and I know there's a lot of a lot of things that we sometimes overlook. So I wasn't sure if there was a plan for that.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Yes, there is a delivery program where food bags are delivered primarily over to the senior center areas, but we do some one-off drop-offs as well. But where there is that congregate senior housing, yes, we are delivering food bags over there.
We also have the CRT lunch program, which has renewed at the Elmwood Senior Center. And people can use Dial-A-Ride to get there if they need to, or but as Liz said, we are delivering to homes as well as to kind of the larger complexes that have senior housing.
Thank you. I had a question about the CDBG funds, and I think I'm just curious how we're differentiating people's eligibility for that program from the state programs that exist for mortgage and rent. So the My Home CT program that provides up to $50,000 and the Unite CT program that provides up to $5,000 for renters.
Sure. Liz, do you want to talk about the application and the screening process?
Sure. Thank you. As part of the needed requirements for using CDBG funds, you have to certify that you have not received other federal sources. So our approach is to make sure that people have applied if they are eligible for those other programs, My Home CT and Unite CT. Unite CT has had some changes recently, as you know. with Unite CT's new approach, you have to actually have a court summons. A notice to quit is not sufficient. So ideally, we're working with folks who are approaching us before they get to the court process and they maybe just had the notice to quit. So they're not quite eligible for those funds yet, but we are doing a thorough assessment of folks to make sure that they are accessing any other federal resource before we tap into the CDBG CV funds.
Great, thank you. And what's the eligibility criteria? Are there income limits for our
It's
program?
this, yes, it's the CDBG guidelines, income eligibility limits, yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Sweeney?
Have we seen any trends with ages in regards to people coming in, families using using services, particularly on the food side? Are we seeing a trend with families with kids? What kind of trends are we seeing?
I have not looked at data based on age, but that is something that I can look into and get back to you. I'm sure we
Yeah.
have it sliced out. I just have not seen a report with that, so I'll take a look.
I just think that particularly for our community, since we probably have more specific pockets of need, that we should probably be a little bit more laser focused on demographics, age, where this is happening, because this way we are really lucky in this community where we have the ability to look at that a little bit more specifically, where we don't have a community that's 60 to 70% of people that are on free and reduced lunch. So I think that something that we could do internally is looking at that data and see if there's any trends, particularly on the one of the things that you all have heard me focus on is really ensuring that that gap time between kids in their latter half of their teenage years, that we're focusing on families that have kids in that space, the most at risk time for them. And I think it's really important for us to focus in on that. And if we have families that are coming in with children of that age, and particularly, obviously all kids are very important to maybe focus more on individuals and families. Well, families with children, I think that's a really important thing for us to focus on as a priority for us, because that's not just the individual, but it's the kids at home that are suffering. So I think we'd love to hear more about how we're interfacing on that level. That would be really great to hear and see the kind of demographics that we're looking at as well.
We do track the demographics of every recipient, so it should be something that we can dig through. It might take us a little time, but I think we can do that. The raw data is more of the number of bags and the number of households, and they might change and vary. Obviously, fiscal 2021 was the biggest year. We distributed over 11,000 bags during that that calendar year of 2021 from January to December. And it went down to 9,800 last year, but that's still more than twice what it was in 2019. So we definitely see the need, maintaining that need.
We can add a report to our next month's meeting and go into some of that data a little bit at a deeper level.
Sorry.
Thanks, Rick. Go ahead, Helen.
Okay, the last item I had was just to update everyone on the process for the new Elmwood Community Center Library Senior Center project. Plant Facilities is developing an RFP for architects to design the building, and it'll probably be launched this spring. And I just wanted to remind everyone that the feasibility and programmatic study that was presented by Tecton in January is available thanks to the West Hartford Public Library. It's available on their website, and they've broken it into various components so that it's easier to navigate and not quite so large to download. And we did launch our spring summer programs on February 1st. And we're also looking to hire. So we have a new recruitment poster that is being set up and distributed around town. So if you know anybody that wants a summer job, now is the time to apply. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions on that piece? I understand a lot of those programs got full right away for the
It
summer.
was, yes, we had in the first 4 or 5 hours from noon to about 4:45, we had almost 6,000 registrations and took in over $1 million in camp registrations. But we do work with people to, especially some of those very popular ones, to try and add sections. And then also if there's drop-offs. So we do have waiting lists and we do pull people off the waiting list.
That's great to know. Thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
I just wanted to commend Helen and the team on a great rollout. It was marked on our calendar for about 2 months. I think it was like getting ready to buy the Taylor Swift tickets at our house. But we got in. So no, just great job. And our kids are super excited about the programming, and as they always are. And as Helen, you've heard me, you guys run a phenomenal shop over there. And it's I think one of the defining parts of our community is what we offer, because as we were talking about through all these services, this is a huge piece for I think for working families to be able to have an affordable option during the summer, even though it is like getting into Live Nation because of the amount of people, but that shows the demand, right? And I'm just like, I'm encouraged to see that we continue to invest in this. And I think that, as we go into budget season, I think that, I would like to remind counselors that this is one of the best programs in the region for recreational services for camps. And Helen and her team does such an awesome job with this. This is one of the best things that we can do for our family, all of our tax-paying residents, and for folks that participate outside of the community as well. So, just again, wanted to commend you on that. It was great. We didn't get waitlisted this year. We were, I think, when he was there, and whatever 8:01 or 9:01 when the doors open virtually. But it was, again, just great. If I can we just go back to the community center? When we met a couple months ago, we had talked about potentially expanding the area that the teen center was going to take up, because it was an issue that I think all of us kind of addressed, and I don't think we heard back. I know that I haven't made the last presentation, but is there another floor plan, or was there an update on that can be provided to the council?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Deputy Mayor Sweeney. So we did, it was addressed in the final feasibility study, and I don't remember the exact additional space that we allocated to the teen center, but just to remind everyone as well, as we go back out and do the RFP to hire the architect, that won't necessarily be the final design. I mean, that's the scope of the project that we'll be working with, but we'll have an opportunity to further refine the space and design of the new community center, library, and senior center at that point.
That's great. I think that, we're just kind of connecting all the dots here all the way from Emily's presentation. When we create a safe place for our kids, we find a place to locate them. We have a great way to get data on them, what's happening at home. And the more that we invest in this community center, and we have all of the different levels of need in the community going to one place, it makes I think it will make Helen and Liz's job a lot easier if we can start identifying people that are using our services more effectively. So I just want to make sure that as that moves forward, that we really do put an onus on connecting there, because what we've seen with the presentation so far that it's going to be an amazing presentation, and I think it's going to be something that people around the state are going to be observing of what we're doing, because I really am just so happy. It's been a long time since got on this council, but I'm just excited to see kind of us connecting the dots on social services, and it's just timely that Emily was here to talk about some of the other issues that's going on in the town as well. So, but thank you for those answers.
Thank you, and I appreciate your through line from, tying it right directly back to Emily's presentation and to what we're looking forward to with the new community center. So thank you.
Great. Any additional questions? Thank you so much. This has been a really informative meeting. So thanks to everybody who has shared resources and information with us this evening. Do we have any requests for future agenda items, committee members or other town councilors? Mr. Sweeney?
I think we had asked to see if the bridge was willing to come back for an update on how things were going. So if we could get them scheduled, that would be great. I know that we're approaching, well, our next meeting will be in March, so.
Yeah,
That'll
we'll
be
bring the
busy
invite
times.
the bridge in for an update. We wanted to get Emily into this meeting, and the last meeting was dedicated to the feasibility study. So we'll add them. Helen, we can get in touch with them for March. Thank you.
Madam, yeah, no, I just want to give you a placeholder for budget too. Just make sure you have some, please. Time for
Yes.
Yep, and then
Duly noted, Madam Mayor.
and then Madam Chair, I think we were going to have maybe a conversation about where the golf program is going to look like going out into next year as well. That would be great to get a preview of what we're looking at for the coming year.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we're working on that as well. Thank you.
As well as the new rates for the swim.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly as well, the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission has requested to present to our committee. And that would be a good connection back to the AARP age-friendly community item from this evening. So not to overload our agenda, but is April an okay time for that, Helen, or is that going to be too late for that grant?
Or the which grant?
The age-friendly.
Oh, it's not a grant. It's a designation.
Oh, then there's no time constraint.
Correct.
Okay.
And we are looking at the resolution change, the changes that the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission has recommended, and we're reviewing that with Corporation Counsel and plan a follow-up meeting with them. So we'll keep you posted on the progress of that, as well as as I said, the mentoring grant from the CYSA for the Juvenile Review Board is probably another one that will come up hopefully in the next 2 weeks, or if not in March.
Okay, great. Thank you. If there are no further agenda items, or does Mr. Manager, is there anything else you wanted to update us on this evening?
No, that would cover everything, Madam Chair.
You all have had a very long day, I'm sure. So thank you very much for your indulgence with our questions this evening, and again for all that you do in these areas, which are so important to people across town. We very much appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you for your commitment. If there are no objections, I will seek to adjourn the meeting. Any objections? All right, meeting is adjourned 8:09 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, tomorrow.